This is Alex, plumber. He came to fix some old pipes upstairs. You know you are disabled and useless.
This is risky. He is downstairs?
He can't walk upstairs. We are safe.
Chitty Okafor sat in his wheelchair by the living room window, watching the Lagos morning sun paint patterns across the marble floor of his estate. At 38 years old, he should have been at the peak of his life. Successful architect, beautiful home, promising future. Instead, he was trapped in this chair, dependent on others for the most basic needs. 2 years. 2 years since the accident on 3rd Mainland Bridge. 2 years since the drunk driver had slammed into his car, crushing his spine, and he'd thought his life. The doctors had been clear. Permanent paralysis from the waist down. He'd never walk again. But it wasn't the wheelchair that imprisoned him. It was his wife. Chitty! Ada's voice cut through the quiet morning like a knife. Where's that useless maid? I need to leave, and you're sitting there like you expect me to help you to the bathroom. She appeared in the doorway, immaculate as always in a designer dress that cost more than most people's monthly salary. Her makeup was perfect, her hair styled by the best salon in Victoria Island. She looked like success. She looked like elegance. She looked nothing like the woman he'd married 5 years ago. Ada, Ngozi will be here soon, Chitty said quietly. She just went to the market. I don't care where she went. Ada snapped. I pay her to be here when I need her. This is ridiculous. I'm late for my spa appointment because my crippled husband can't even manage his own bladder. The words hit like physical blows. Chitty had learned to school his features into neutrality over the past 2 years, but inside, each insult carved another wound. I'm sorry, he said, hating himself for apologizing. I can wait until... Of course you can wait. What else can you do? Ada grabbed her designer handbag and headed for the door, then paused. Their estate gateman, Ibrahim, was visible through the window, along with 2 neighbors who'd come to collect their morning newspapers. Ada's voice rose deliberately, ensuring they'd hear. Honestly, living with a disabled husband is exhausting. Can't work, can't drive, can't even use the toilet without help. I'm basically a nurse and a wife. It's too much. The gateman looked away, embarrassed. The neighbors exchanged uncomfortable glances. Chitty felt his face burn with shame. Ada, please. Please what? You want me to lie? Tell people everything's fine when you're sitting there useless? She turned to the door, raising her voice even more. I swear, sometimes I wonder why I even stay. A man who can't be a real man? What's the point? She slammed the door behind her, leaving Chitty alone with the echo of her cruelty and the knowledge that half the estate had just heard her. 15 minutes later, Ngozi arrived, slightly out of breath from hurrying back from the market. At 28. She was young, humble, and the only person in this house who treated Chitty like a human being. Sir, I'm so sorry I'm late, she said immediately. The market was crowded. Do you need? The bathroom, please, Chitty said quietly, if you don't mind. Of course I don't mind, sir. That's what I'm here for. But wasn't just duty in her eyes. Over the 18 months she'd worked here, Ngozi had shown him something he'd almost forgotten existed. Genuine kindness. She helped him to the bathroom with practiced efficiency and dignity, never making him feel like a burden. When they returned to the living room, she made him breakfast without being asked. You don't have to do that, Chitty said. Ada didn't ask you to. I know, sir, but you need to eat. She placed a tray on the table beside him. And, sir, don't listen to what Madam said this morning. You're not useless. You're not what she called you. Their eyes met. Something passed between them. Understanding, perhaps, or the beginning of something deeper. Thank you, Ngozi. You're very kind. You're a good man, sir. That's all that matters. Not whether you can walk. If only she knew, Chitty thought. If only she knew that in a few hours, when everyone was asleep or away, he would stand from this wheelchair and walk. He'd been doing it for 6 months now. But no one could know. Not yet. The doorbell rang. Ngozi answered it, and Chitty heard a man's voice, smooth, confident, familiar. Good morning. I'm here to see Mrs. Okafor. About the plumbing. Chitty's jaw tightened. Alex, the plumber. Third visit this month. Ada appeared from upstairs, suddenly materialized now that her appointment had arrived. She'd changed from her going-out dress into something more revealing. Alex, thank you for coming so quickly. The pipes upstairs are leaking again. She shot Chitty a look. Darling, the plumber is here. We'll be upstairs. Old house problems, you understand. Again? Chitty kept his voice neutral. Didn't you just fix them last week? Old pipes, old house. Ada's smile was brittle. Things break. You wouldn't understand. You can't exactly climb stairs to check, can you? The casual cruelty in that statement made Ngozi gasp softly. Alex had the decency to look uncomfortable. I'll just get my tools from the car, Alex mumbled, avoiding eye contact with Chitty. Take your time, Ada purred. She looked at Ngozi. I need you to go to the specialty store in Lekki. Get these items. She handed over a long shopping list. And don't rush. Take your time. At least 3 hours. The traffic is terrible today. But Sir might need. He'll be fine. He's not going anywhere, is he? Ada's laugh was sharp. He can't exactly run away. Ngozi looked at Chitty, conflicted. He nodded slightly. It's okay, Ngozi. I'll manage. After Ngozi left reluctantly, and Ada and Alex disappeared upstairs, Chitty sat alone in the living room. Within minutes, he heard sounds from above, laughter, music, the unmistakable sounds of betrayal. His hands gripped the wheelchair armrest until his knuckles went white. Old pipes, he muttered bitterly. Right. 3 hours. They stayed upstairs for 3 hours. When Alex finally left at 5 p.m., he walked past Chitty with his tools, a bag that clearly hadn't been opened. The man couldn't even meet his eyes. Pipes all fixed? Chitty asked coolly. Yeah, should be good for a while. Alex practically ran out the door. Ada came downstairs looking refreshed, satisfied. She found Chitty still sitting exactly where she'd left him, his dinner untouched on the tray beside him. What's wrong? She asked, not actually caring. Can't feed yourself now either? I'm not hungry. Suit yourself. More money saved. She grabbed her phone, barely glancing at him. I'm going to bed early. Don't make noise. After she went upstairs, Chitty sat in the darkening living room, listening to the sounds of the estate settling into evening. The humiliation of the day pressed down on him, her public mockery, her blatant cheating, her casual cruelty. But Ada didn't know everything. She didn't know that 6 months ago, during one of his physical therapy sessions, he'd felt a tingling in his toes. Didn't know that sensation had slowly returned to his legs. Didn't know that he'd been practicing in secret, building strength, learning to walk again. The doctors called him a miracle, 1 in a million chance of nerve regeneration. But Chitty had kept it secret, telling no one, not even Ngozi, though he was tempted every day. Why? Because he needed to see the truth. He needed to see who his wife really was when she thought he was helpless. He needed evidence. He needed the world to see what he'd been enduring. And tonight, he had a plan. When the house was completely silent, Ada asleep upstairs, the estate quiet, Chitty slowly stood from his wheelchair. His legs held firm, strong. He'd been walking every night for months now, building strength, preparing. He walked to the window and looked out at the estate he'd designed and built with his own hands before the accident. This was his home, his life. And Ada thought she could just take it, mock him, betray him? Not anymore. He sat back in the wheelchair, pulled out his phone, and sent a message to his lawyer. Start the paperwork. I'll have evidence soon. Then he sent another message to himself, a reminder. 3 more days until the estate meeting. 3 more days until everyone sees the truth. A slight smile crossed his face, the first genuine smile in 2 years. Ada wanted to humiliate him? Fine. Let's see who ends up humiliated. The next morning, Ngozi arrived early. She found Chitty already awake, sitting by the window in his wheelchair, staring at nothing. Good morning, sir. Did you sleep well? As well as I ever do, Chitty said. It wasn't a lie. He hadn't slept well in 2 years. Ngozi began preparing his breakfast, oatmeal with fresh fruit, exactly how he liked it. She'd learned his preferences, his routines, the small things that brought him comfort. Ada had never bothered to learn any of it. "Sir, may I ask you something?" Ngozi said as she set the tray before him. "Of course. Why do you stay with her?" The question came out in a rush, as if she'd been holding it back for months. "I'm sorry, it's not my place to ask, but sir, the way she treats you, it's not right. It's not loving." Chitty looked at this young woman, who'd shown him more compassion in 18 months than his wife had shown in 2 years. "It's complicated, Ngozi. Marriage, divorce, legal matters. She's cruel to you." Ngozi interrupted, then looked shocked at her own boldness. "I'm sorry, sir, I shouldn't have." "You're right." Chitty's voice was quiet but firm. "She is cruel, but sometimes, Ngozi, we have to wait for the right moment. To act too quickly is to lose everything. To wait, to plan, to gather evidence, that's how you win." Ngozi studied him with her intelligent eyes. "You have a plan." It wasn't a question. Chitty smiled slightly. "Perhaps. Whatever it is, sir, I hope it works. You deserve better than this. So do you, Ngozi. You're young, kind, beautiful. Why are you working as a maid for people like us?" Her face clouded. "I'm a widow, sir. My husband died 3 years ago in a motorcycle accident. I'm supporting my mother. This job, it pays well enough. I didn't know. I'm sorry. We both lost things, sir, but we're still here. That counts for something." Their eyes held for a moment longer than necessary. Chitty felt something shift in his chest. Something he hadn't felt since before the accident. Hope, perhaps, or the beginning of love. The moment broke when Ada's voice shrilled from upstairs. "Ngozi, where's my coffee? Do I have to wait all day?" Ngozi sighed and went prepare Ada's coffee. Chitty watched her go, thinking about how different his 2 women were. One who served him with kindness. One who couldn't even bring him water without complaint. Later that afternoon, the doorbell rang again. Chitty knew who it would be before Ngozi even opened the door. "Good afternoon. Plumbing maintenance for Mrs. Okafor. Alex." Back again. Ada materialized immediately, dressed in a tight dress, hair perfect, makeup fresh. "Alex, right on time. The master bathroom needs checking." "Ngozi," she turned to the maid, "I need you to go to the post office. Mail these letters. Then stop by the fabric store in Surulere and get samples. Take your time." It was the same pattern. "Send Ngozi away. Bring Alex upstairs. Pretend it's about plumbing. Sir might need..." Ngozi started. "He'll be fine." Ada's eyes were hard. "Or are you saying you don't want to do your job?" "No, ma'am. I'll go." Ngozi looked at Chitty apologetically. After she left, Ada and Alex went upstairs. The bedroom door closed. Music started playing, loud enough to cover other sounds. Chitty sat in his wheelchair, staring at the ceiling, listening. His phone was in his lap, recording app ready. He waited exactly 10 minutes. Then, when he was certain they were occupied, he stood up from his wheelchair. His legs held firm. Stronger every day. He walked to the stairs Ada said he'd never climb again, and began ascending one step at a time. Quietly, carefully, his heart pounding not from exertion, but from what he was about to do. The bedroom door was closed, but not locked. Why would they lock it? The crippled husband couldn't climb stairs. The maid was gone for hours. They were safe. Or so they thought. Chitty pushed the door open just a crack. His phone camera was already recording. What he saw would have destroyed him 2 years ago. But now, with 6 months of Ada's cruelty behind him, it just made him cold. Ada and Alex, in his bed, the bed he couldn't share anymore because she'd move him to a downstairs room, claiming it was easier for his care. He recorded for 2 full minutes. Video evidence, clear and undeniable. They were so engrossed they never noticed the door slightly ajar, never saw the phone camera, never suspected. He caught audio too. Alex's voice. "Your husband really has no idea?" Ada's laugh, cruel and careless. "Chitty, please. He can't even get up the stairs. He's useless. Can't work, can't walk, can't be a real man. I'm only staying for the house and the money. Once I figure out how to get both in my name, I'm gone. Brutal, Alex said, but he was laughing. He deserves it. Being with a cripple? I'm a saint for even staying. Chitty stopped recording. He'd heard enough, seen enough. He backed away from the door silently, descended the stairs carefully, and settled back into his wheelchair before they emerged. When they came downstairs 2 hours later, Chitty was exactly where they'd left him, seemingly unchanged, staring at nothing. All done, he asked Alex neutrally. Yep, fix it right up. Alex wouldn't meet his eyes. You're very thorough. Coming 3 for times a month. Those pipes must be terrible. Old house. Ada interjected smoothly. What can you do? After Alex left, Ada went back upstairs without a word to Chitty. No dinner. No acknowledgement. Nothing. When Ngozi returned an hour later, she found Chitty still sitting in the same spot. Sir, you haven't eaten? I'm fine, Ngozi. But he wasn't fine. His hands were shaking. Not from weakness. From rage. Ngozi saw it. She always saw things others missed. Without asking permission, she sat in the chair beside his wheelchair. Sir, whatever you're planning, I want to help. Ngozi, she's destroying you. Every day, piece by piece. I can't watch it anymore. Why do you care? The question came out more desperately than he intended. I'm just your employer. A disabled man you take care of for a salary. Why does it matter? Ngozi's eyes filled with tears. Because you're not just my employer. You're the kindest man I've ever known. You say please and thank you. You ask about my mother's health. You remember my late husband's name. You treat me like a person, not a servant. She reached out, hesitated, then took his hand. And sir, I know this is wrong. I know I'm just a maid. But I care about you, more than I should. Chitty's breath caught. Ngozi, I know you probably can't feel the same way. I know I'm nothing compared to her. But I couldn't keep pretending I don't see you. Really see you. For a long moment, they sat in silence, hands clasped. Then Chitty spoke, his voice thick with emotion. Ngozi, I need to tell you something. Something no one else knows. What is it? I can walk. Her eyes widened in shock. What? For 6 months now. Miracle recovery. But I've kept it secret. He squeezed her hand. And now I need to tell you why. Because in 3 days at the estate meeting, everything is going to change. And I need you there. I need you to trust me. I trust you with my life, she whispered. Then trust me with this. Ada thinks she's won. She thinks I'm helpless and she can do whatever she wants. But she's wrong. And everyone is going to see it. What are you going to do? Chitty's smile was cold. I'm going to show the entire estate exactly who my wife is. And then he looked at Ngozi, his expression softening. And then I'm going to ask the woman I actually love to be with me. Ngozi's hand flew to her mouth. Sir, I love you, Ngozi. I think I've loved you for months. You make me feel like a man again, not because of my legs, but because of how you see my heart. I love you, too, she breathed. I've loved you since the day I arrived, and you thanked me for bringing you water. Such a small thing, but she'd never thanked me for anything. They sat together, hands clasped, plans forming. Outside, the estate settled into evening. Upstairs, Ada slept peacefully, unaware that her world was about to end. 3 more days. 3 more days and justice would be served. He walked upstairs. He recorded the entire affair on video. She said he's useless and not a real man, and she's only staying for the money. He has proof, and the twist gets even better. He and Ngozi the maid are in love. They confess their feelings. He told her his plan. In 3 days at the estate meeting, everything explodes. Smash that like button. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion because next chapter is the public reveal where he stands up in front of everyone and it's devastating. Comment, do you ship Chitty and Ngozi? Turn on notifications. The day of the estate meeting arrived. Ada was in an excellent mood, which meant she was extra cruel. She'd invited 3 of her friends over for lunch before the meeting. Women from the estate who love gossip and drama. Ladies, thank you for coming, Ada said, serving expensive wine in their living room. I needed some civilized company before that boring meeting tonight. The women, Mrs. Blessing, Mrs. Chioma, and Mrs. Funmi, all nodded sympathetically. They sat on the expensive leather furniture, while Ngozi served them appetizers. Chitty was in his wheelchair by the window, as always. Ada hadn't even asked if he wanted to attend the meeting. She'd simply assumed he wouldn't, or that if he did, he'd be easy to ignore. "Ada, how do you manage?" Mrs. Blessing asked, glancing at Chitty with barely disguised pity. "Living with, caring for, a disabled husband?" Ada finished for her, her voice deliberately loud. "It's exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. I'm basically a nurse, a wife, and a saint all rolled into one." The women made sympathetic noises. Chitty's face remained expressionless. Look at him," Ada continued, gesturing with her wine glass. "Can't work, can't drive, can't even go upstairs without help. What kind of marriage is that?" "Ada," Mrs. Chioma said uncomfortably, "perhaps we shouldn't." "Shouldn't what? Tell the truth? Everyone knows. Everyone sees. I'm trapped with a man who can't be a real husband." She took a long sip of wine. "Sometimes I wonder why I even bother staying." From the kitchen doorway, Ngozi's hands clenched around the tray she was holding. She looked at Chitty, saw the slight shake of his head. "Not yet. Wait." Mrs. Funmi changed the subject uncomfortably. "So, Ada, I heard your plumber has been coming quite often." Ada's eyes flashed, but she recovered quickly. "Old house, old pipes. What can you do?" The women exchanged knowing looks but said nothing. Everyone in the estate knew. Everyone suspected, but no one said out loud. After the women left, Ada got ready for the estate meeting. She chose a stunning outfit, designer dress, expensive jewelry, perfect makeup. She wanted to look good for the community. "Ngozi," she called out, "get my husband ready. If he's attending, he should at least look presentable. I don't want people thinking I neglect him." The irony was almost funny. Ngozi helped Chitty change into a nice shirt and slacks. As she did, she whispered, "Sir, are you sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything," Chitty whispered back. The estate meeting was held in the community hall, a large space that could accommodate all 50-plus households in their gated estate. It was monthly routine, discuss security, maintenance fees, complaints. Tonight would be different. Ada pushed Chitty's wheelchair into the hall. Heads turned, some pitying looks, some curious ones. The chairman, Mr. Ademola, greeted them. "Mr. and Mrs. Okafor, welcome. Please find a seat." Ada positioned Chitty's wheelchair at the side, close enough to be present but out of the main view. Ngozi stood nearby. As she'd been instructed, the meeting began with routine business. Security report, financial update, maintenance schedule, boring, administrative stuff. Then came the open forum, the section where residents could raise concerns. Ada stood up, and Chitty knew what was coming. She'd planned this. Another public humiliation. "Mr. Chairman," Ada said sweetly, "I have a concern I'd like to raise." "Please, Mrs. Okafor, go ahead." "It's about disabled accessibility in our state." She gestured toward Chitty without looking at him. "My husband, as many of you know, is wheelchair-bound. And honestly, it's been very difficult managing his mobility issues." The room fell uncomfortably silent. "The ramps are too steep. The parking is inadequate. And frankly, having to wheel him around like a child is exhausting for me. I think the estate should invest in better facilities, so I don't have to struggle so much with him." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, some sympathetic to Ada, others uncomfortable with how she was talking about her husband like he wasn't there. "Also," Ada continued, warming to her topic, "we need to discuss parking closer to the community facilities. It's so inconvenient having to push his wheelchair from far distances. He insists on attending things, which is noble, I suppose, but it makes everything harder for me." Mrs. Blessing from earlier stood up. "Ada, perhaps your husband would like to speak on this issue himself?" "Him?" Ada laughed, actually laughed. "What would he say? He can't even climb stairs. He has no idea what it's like to actually manage the situation. I'm the one dealing with everything. That's when Mr. Ademola, the chairman, intervened. Mrs. Okafor, with respect, your husband is present. Perhaps we should hear from him directly. Ada waved dismissively. He won't have anything useful to contribute. Trust me, I live with him. He's practically helpless. Can't work. Can't drive. Can't even be a proper husband in any meaningful way. Ada. Chitty's voice cut through the room. Quiet but firm. She turned, surprised he'd spoken. What? I have something to say. Chitty, don't embarrass yourself. Actually, Chitty said, his hands gripping the wheelchair armrests, I think you're the one who should be embarrassed. And then he stood up. The room gasped collectively. 50 people inhaling at once. Chitty stood from his wheelchair, steady and strong. He took one step forward. Then another, walking toward his wife, who stood frozen in shock, her face draining of color. You can walk? Ada stammered. I can walk, Chitty confirmed, now standing face to face with her. I've been able to walk for 6 months. The room erupted into chaos. People talking over each other, shocked exclamations, questions. 6 months. Ada's voice rose to a shriek. You've been able to walk for 6 months, and you didn't tell me? Why would I? Chitty's voice was cold. So you could pretend to be happy? Pretend you weren't relieved when I was paralyzed because it gave you an excuse to treat me like trash. How dare you? No. Chitty's voice was steel. How dare you? For 2 years you've mocked me, humiliated me, called me useless, pathetic, not a real man. In front of neighbors, in front of staff, in front of everyone. Ada's eyes darted around the room, seeing everyone staring. Chitty, not here. Oh, absolutely here. He pulled out his phone. Mr. Chairman, may I use a projector? Of course, Mr. Ademola said, clearly invested in where this was going. Chitty connected his phone to the community hall's projection system. The large screen flickered to life. Let me show everyone what my caring wife has been doing while I was helplessly trapped downstairs. He played the video. On the massive screen, visible to all 50-plus households, was Ada and Alex, in bed, unmistakable, undeniable. The audio played loud and clear. Your husband really has no idea? Chitty? Please. He can't even get up the stairs. He's useless. Can't work, can't walk, can't be a real man. I'm only staying for the house and the money. The room exploded. People shouting, some covering their children's eyes. Ada's face turning from white to red to purple. Turn it OFF, she screamed. Chitty stopped the video. Should I show the other 5 recordings? Or is this one enough? Ada lunged at him, but he sidestepped easily. 6 months of secret practice making him steady. She stumbled, catching herself on a chair. You recorded me? That's illegal. In my own house? Chitty's voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. Recording someone who's been stealing from me, cheating on me, and abusing me? I think any court will find it admissible. He turned to address the room. My wife has been having an affair for at least 6 months, probably longer, with a man pretending to be a plumber. Alex from Unit 47. A married man, by the way. In the crowd, a woman gasped and stood up. Alex's wife, Chioma. What did you say? I'm sorry, Mrs. Chioma. Chitty said gently, but your husband has been cheating with my wife. I have 6 separate recordings. All evidence. All dated. All undeniable. Chioma burst into tears and was let out by friends. The room was chaos now. Ada was crying. Real tears of fury, not her usual manipulative ones. You bastard. You humiliated me. I humiliated you. Chitty's laugh was bitter. You've been humiliating me for 2 years, calling me useless, mocking my disability, cheating in my own house. And you want to talk about humiliation? Everyone makes mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. Chitty pulled up his phone again. These are text messages between you and Alex, planning your affairs, laughing about me, calling me a cripple and a waste of space. Want me to read them out loud? No. Then let me make this very clear. Chitty's voice carried across the silent room. Ada Okafor, I'm filing for divorce. adultery, emotional abuse, fraud. My lawyers have everything. You will get nothing. Not the house, not money, not a settlement. Nothing. You can't. I can. The house is in my name alone. I have proof of your affairs, your cruelty, your intentions to steal from me. You're done. Ada looked around the room desperately, seeing only judgment in every face. Her friends from earlier wouldn't meet her eyes. The neighbors who'd pitted her were now staring at her with disgust. She'd been exposed. Completely. Publicly. In front of everyone. I need to leave, she stammered. Good idea, Chitty said. Then he turned, and his eyes found Ngozi, standing at the back of the room, tears streaming down her face. He walked toward her, really walked, steady and strong, through the crowd that parted for him. When he reached her, he got down on one knee. The room collectively gasped again. Ngozi Manuel, Chitty said, pulling out a ring box. You saw me at my lowest. You treated me with dignity when my own wife treated me like garbage. You loved me when I had nothing to offer but a wheelchair and pain. You made me feel like a man again, not because of my legs, but because you saw my heart. Ngozi was sobbing now, hands over her mouth. Will you marry me? Yes. She could barely get the word out through her tears. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. He stood, slipped the ring on her finger, and they embraced while the entire estate erupted in applause. Some people were crying. Some were cheering. In the back of the room, Ada stood alone, forgotten, watching the man she'd mocked marry the maid she'd bullied. Her world was crumbling in real time. And someone in the crowd was recording everything on their phone, uploading it to social media, where it would go viral within hours. Justice, it seemed, had been served. By morning, the video had 5 million views. Someone had recorded Chitty's entire revelation on their phone, from the moment he stood up to proposal, and posted online with the caption, Disabled husband exposes cheating wife in the most satisfying way possible. Hashtag karma, hashtag justice, hashtag disability is not disqualification. It went viral overnight. Chitty woke up in his estate house, the house that was solely in his name, to find his phone exploding with messages. News outlets requesting interviews. Disability advocacy groups wanted to feature his story. And countless messages from strangers saying, You're an inspiration and she got what she deserved. Beside him, in the guest room, properly and respectfully, Ngozi was also being flooded with messages. Marriage proposals from strangers, which she deleted immediately. Job offers, media requests. Sir, she said over breakfast, people are calling me a gold digger online, saying I seduced you while you were vulnerable. Let them talk. Chitty said firmly, We know the truth. The people who matter know the truth. What they didn't know yet was that Ada still hadn't left the house. She'd locked herself in the master bedroom after the estate meeting, refusing to come out. At 9 a.m., Chitty's lawyer, Barrister Okonkwo, arrived with police. Mr. Okafor, the lawyer said formally, We're here to enforce the eviction notice. Mrs. Ada Okafor has 24 hours to vacate, or she'll be forcibly removed. They knocked on the bedroom door. Mrs. Okafor, please open the door. No. Ada's voice was hoarse from crying. This is M.Y. House. I've lived here for 5 years. The deed says otherwise. Barrister Okonkwo called back. The house is solely in your husband's name. You have no legal claim. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Eventually, they had to unlock the door with Chitty's master key. Inside, they found Ada surrounded by her designer clothes, jewelry, and makeup, packing frantically. Where am I supposed to go? She screamed when she saw Chitty. You're throwing me out with nothing? You should have thought about that before cheating, Chitty said calmly. You can take your personal belongings. Everything else stays. This is M.Y. jewelry. My clothes. Bought with M.Y. money while you were unemployed and cheating. He gestured to the lawyer. We have receipts. Credit card statements. Every purchase you made with my funds while committing adultery is technically fraud. Ada's face crumpled. Chitty, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but we can work it out. He laughed, actually laughed. You call me useless. You mocked my disability in front of the entire neighborhood. You cheated on me repeatedly. You planned to steal my house. What exactly are we working out? I was lonely. You were disabled. What was I supposed to do? Be a decent human being? Ngozi spoke up from the doorway, her voice quiet but firm. Support your husband? Show kindness? Literally anything except what you did. Ada's face twisted with rage. This is your fault. You seduced him. I showed him kindness. That's all. If basic kindness looked like seduction to you, that says everything about what you weren't doing. The police officer cleared his throat. Mrs. Okafor, you need to leave now. Pack your personal items. You have 2 hours. While Ada packed, sobbing, cursing, throwing things, Chitty's lawyer laid out the legal situation in the living room. The divorce will be straightforward, Barrister Okonkwo said. We have video evidence of adultery, text messages, witness testimony from estate members, her own admission on video that she was only staying for the money. What will she get? Ngozi asked. Nothing. Under Nigerian law, proven adultery voids most spousal claims. The house is in his name. His architecture firm is his alone. She never worked there. She has no claim to his assets. But the lawyer continued. She's going to fight. She's already hired a lawyer, Barrister Rins, notorious for aggressive tactics. They're claiming you entrapped her by pretending to be disabled. Chitty snorted. I didn't pretend. I was disabled. I recovered. Medical miracle. I have doctor's documentation. I know, but they'll try everything. Expect a battle. 2 hours later, Ada left the estate in a taxi, her designer life packed into 6 suitcases. Neighbors watched from windows. No one waved goodbye. No one offered help. She burned every bridge. That same day, across town, Alex was dealing with his own disaster. His wife Chioma had filed for divorce, taken their 3 children, and kicked him out. His contracting business was collapsing as word spread about the affair. Clients were canceling contracts. His reputation was destroyed. He tried calling Ada. We need to talk. Figure out what to say. Don't ever call me again. Ada screamed into the phone. This is your fault. If you hadn't been so careless. My fault. You invited me. You said your husband would never find out. He was supposed to be paralyzed. How was I supposed to know he'd walk again? They fought bitterly, each blaming the other, until Alex hung up. That was the last time they ever spoke. Meanwhile, the viral video continued spreading. News outlets picked it up. Disabled architect exposes cheating wife in dramatic estate meeting reveal. Disability advocacy groups praised Chitty for showing that disability doesn't define a person. Relationship counselors use the story as an example of toxic versus healthy relationships. Social media was overwhelmingly on Chitty's side. This man is a legend. Disability doesn't mean you're less than. She's disgusting. The maid saw his worth when the wife didn't. That's real love. That proposal was the most romantic thing ever. Ada got exactly what she deserved. But there were critics, too. How do we know the maid didn't seduce him? He should have told his wife he could walk. Public humiliation isn't the answer. Chitty didn't respond to critics. He had more important things to do, like prepare for court. 3 weeks later, the divorce hearing began in Lagos High Court. Ada's lawyer came out swinging. Your Honor, my client was trapped in a loveless marriage with a man who deceived her. When Mr. Okafor recovered his ability to walk, he deliberately hid it from his wife. This is entrapment, emotional manipulation. Barrister Okonkwo stood. Your Honor, Mr. Okafor had every right to keep his medical recovery private. He was recovering from a traumatic injury. Meanwhile, his wife was committing adultery, stealing his money, and planning to defraud him of his property. The only person manipulating anyone was Mrs. Okafor. Evidence was presented. Medical records showing Chitty's miraculous recovery, confirmed by 3 doctors. 6 video recordings of Ada and Alex together, text messages between Ada and Alex, hundreds of them explicit. Financial records showing Ada spent 5 million Nigerian nairas on clothes, jewelry, and gifts for Alex using Chitty's money, testimony from estate gateman Ibrahim. Sir, I saw Mr. Alex visit at least 3 times per week. He would stay for hours. Everyone in the estate knew something was wrong. Testimony from neighbors confirming Ada's public mockery of Chitty's disability. Ada's lawyer tried to argue loneliness, tried to argue that Chitty's disability had made the marriage unbearable, tried every angle. Then Ngozi was called to testify. She stood in the witness box, humble in a simple dress, and told the truth. Ma'am, Ada was cruel to Mr. Chitty every single day. She called him useless, pathetic, not a real man. She mocked his wheelchair. She refused to help him with basic needs. She made me, the maid, do everything while she went shopping and met with Mr. Alex. Did you ever witness the affairs? The judge asked. No, Your Honor. Ma'am, Ada always sent me away on long errands when Mr. Alex visited. But I heard things. Everyone heard things. The estate gateman saw Mr. Alex come and go. We all knew. When did you develop romantic feelings for Mr. Okafor? Ngozi's voice was steady. Over time, Your Honor. He was kind to me. He treated me like a person, not a servant. He said please and thank you. He asked about my late husband, my mother. He saw me. I fell in love with his character, not his money or status. Did you pursue him while he was married? Never, Your Honor. We didn't even discuss feelings until after Ma'am Ada was exposed, and he'd already decided to divorce. I would never, her voice broke, I would never be like her. The judge nodded. Thank you, Miss Emanuel. You may step down. Finally, Chitty testified. Why didn't you tell your wife you could walk? The judge asked. Because I wanted to see the truth, Your Honor. When I was disabled, my wife showed her true character. She mocked me. She cheated. She planned to steal from me. If I'd told her I could walk, she would have pretended everything was fine. I needed evidence. I needed the world to see what she was really like. Some might call that manipulation, and I call it self-protection, Your Honor. I was trapped, disabled, dependent. She had all the power. The only power I had was knowledge, knowing what she was doing and documenting it. That knowledge kept me sane. It gave me hope. It let me plan an escape from an abusive marriage. The judge was silent for a long moment. Then, Mr. Okafor, this court recognizes that you were in an extraordinarily difficult position. Your wife exploited your disability. She committed adultery. She mocked you publicly. She stole from you. The evidence is overwhelming. She turned to Ada. Mrs. Okafor, you've shown a stunning lack of compassion for your husband during his most vulnerable time. You betrayed your marriage vows. You mocked his disability. You planned to defraud him. This court finds your behavior reprehensible. Ada started crying. Divorce granted, the judge said firmly. Grounds: adultery, cruelty, fraud. Mrs. Ada Okafor will receive no settlement, no alimony, no assets. The house remains with Mr. Chitty Okafor. Mrs. Ada must repay 5 million Nigerian nairas spent during the marriage from joint accounts. Restraining order in place. Mrs. Ada is not to contact Mr. Chitty Okafor or Miss Ngozi Manuel for any reason. This court is adjourned. Ada left the courtroom in tears, surrounded by reporters shouting questions. She had nothing. No house. No money. No reputation. No friends. Chitty and Ngozi left through a side exit, hand in hand, free at last. Divorced. Ada got nothing. No money. No house. No settlement. She has to repay 5 million Nigerian nairas. Restraining order in place. The judge called her behavior reprehensible. Alex lost his business and his family. Both villains completely destroyed. Meanwhile, Chitty and Ngozi are free to be together. The video has 5 million views. But what happens next? The wedding? Ada's final desperate move? Smash that like button. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion for the final chapter showing true love winning. Comment: did Ada get what she deserved? Turn on notifications. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, Chitty Okafor stood in his bedroom, adjusting his traditional wedding attire in the mirror. His legs, strong, steady, fully recovered, supported him without effort. It felt surreal. 2 years ago, he'd been paralyzed, broken, trapped in a wheelchair and a cruel marriage. Now he was about to marry the woman who'd seen him at his lowest and loved him anyway. There was a knock on the door. "Come in." Barrister Okonkwo entered, smiling. "Ready for the big day?" "More than ready." "Good, because there's something you should know." The lawyer's expression grew serious. "Ada has been asking around about the wedding date. We think she might try something." Chitty sighed. "Of course she would. What's she planning?" "We're not sure, but we've hired extra security. She won't get anywhere near the venue." "Thank you." Chitty looked at himself one more time in the mirror. I spent 6 months pretending to be disabled so I could expose her. Sometimes I wonder if that was wrong." "Was it?" The lawyer studied him. "You were protecting yourself. You were gathering evidence. You were surviving. There's no shame in that. I humiliated her publicly. She humiliated you for 2 years. Publicly. Daily. And she was cheating, stealing, planning to defraud you. You exposed the truth. That's not wrong. That's justice." Chitty nodded slowly. "Justice? Yes, that's what it was." The wedding was being held at the estate community hall, the same place where Chitty had revealed the truth 3 months ago. It was symbolic. Where darkness was exposed, now light would be celebrated. The hall was decorated beautifully. Traditional Nigerian fabrics in rich colors, flowers everywhere, a small but meaningful gathering of people who actually care about them. No society drama, no status games, just genuine love. Ngozi's elderly mother, Mama Adiz, sat in the front row, crying happy tears. After losing her son-in-law 3 years ago, she thought her daughter would never love again. Now she was about to gain a son. Chitty stood at the altar, waiting. The music began. The doors opened. And Ngozi walked in. She wasn't wearing an expensive designer gown. She didn't need one. Her traditional attire was simple but elegant. She looked like herself, humble and beautiful. No pretense. No performance. Just Ngozi. Their eyes met across the room, and Chitty felt his throat tighten with emotion. This was real. This was right. As Ngozi reached the altar, Chitty took her hands. They were shaking slightly, nervous joy. "You look beautiful," he whispered. "You're standing," she whispered back, eyes shining with tears. "I still can't believe you're standing." "I'm standing because of you. You gave me a reason to." The pastor began the ceremony. Traditional vows, promises of love, faithfulness, support through all circumstances. When it was time for personal vows, Chitty spoke first. "Ngozi, when I was in that wheelchair, I felt invisible. My wife looked through me like I didn't exist. Neighbors pitied me. Friends avoided me. I became my disability in everyone's eyes. But not yours. You saw me. Really saw me. You saw a man who liked his coffee with 2 sugars, who missed designing buildings, who wanted to be treated with dignity. You gave me back my humanity before my legs even worked again." His voice caught. "You loved me when I had nothing to offer but a wheelchair and pain. And now I can offer you a lifetime of walking beside you, literally and figuratively. I promise to see you the way you saw me. Completely. Truly. Forever." Ngozi was crying openly now. When it was her turn, she took a shaky breath. "Chitty, I was a widow. I thought my chance at love died with my first husband. I thought I'd spend my life serving others, invisible, forgotten. Then I met you. You said, 'Thank you,' when I brought you water. Such a small thing. But it changed my world. You made me feel seen, valuable, human." She squeezed his hands. "People say I'm marrying you for money. They say I seduced you when you were vulnerable. They don't understand. I fell in love with your kindness, your strength, your refusal to be defined by what you couldn't do. You taught me that real strength isn't in legs that work. It's in a heart that stays kind despite pain. I promise to love that heart forever." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the pastor said. "You may kiss your bride." And Chitty did, while the small gathering erupted in applause and tears and joy. During the reception, Estate Chairman Mr. Ademola gave a toast. 3 months ago, In this very room, we witnessed something extraordinary. A man who refused to be defined by his disability. A woman who saw past it. Tonight, we celebrate not just their wedding, but the triumph of genuine love over cruelty, truth over deception, and character over circumstances. To Chitty and Ngozi. To Chitty and Ngozi, everyone echoed. The celebration was beautiful. Dancing, laughter, traditional food, genuine happiness. At one point, Chitty actually danced with Ngozi, his legs strong and sure. The room cheered, but outside the hall, in a taxi parked across the street, Ada sat watching through the window. She'd lost weight. Her designer clothes were gone. She was wearing simple, cheap attire now. No makeup, hair in a simple ponytail. She looked ordinary, broken. She'd come to, she didn't even know why, to disrupt the wedding, to beg for forgiveness, to see what she'd lost. But seeing them together, seeing Chitty dancing, seeing Ngozi's joy, seeing the genuine love between them, something inside Ada finally broke. Not with anger, with regret. Real regret. For the first time, the taxi driver cleared his throat. "Madam, you said you want to go in?" "No," Ada whispered. "No, I don't belong there." "Where to, then?" "Just drive. Anywhere." The taxi pulled away, and Ada watched the community hall disappear in the rearview mirror. With it went her last connection to the life she'd destroyed. 1 year later, Chitty and Ngozi's home was full of light and laughter. Ngozi, now 7 months pregnant, sat in the garden while Chitty worked on architectural drawings for a new project. Accessible Housing Initiative, affordable housing designed specifically for people with disabilities. "You're doing important work," Ngozi said, rubbing her growing belly. "I want to help people who are going through what I went through. People who feel trapped. People who think disability means the end. It doesn't. It just means adaptation." His architecture firm, which had collapsed during his disability, was thriving again. But more importantly, he'd become a voice in disability advocacy. News outlets interviewed him. Support groups invited him to speak. He'd turned his pain into purpose. Ngozi had graduated from nursing school and now worked part-time at a rehabilitation center, helping disabled patients. She understood them in a way few nurses could. She'd love someone through disability and recovery. "I heard Ada is working at a supermarket in Adjugunal," Ngozi said quietly. "Stocking shelves." Chitty looked up from his drawings. "How do you feel about that?" "Sad, honestly. Not for what she did. She earned those consequences. But sad that she destroyed her own life so thoroughly. Do you think she's changed?" "I don't know. Maybe. Losing everything has a way of teaching people." That afternoon, by pure coincidence, Chitty and pregnant Ngozi went shopping at a mall in Acadia. As they walked through the electronics section, Chitty noticed a familiar figure working behind the counter. Ada. She looked different. Older. Tired. Humble. She wore a simple retail uniform, name tag reading ADA Sales Associate. She looked up, saw them, and froze. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Chitty took Ngozi's hand and walked toward the counter. Ada's eyes filled with tears. "I know you don't want to see me. I'm not here to cause trouble. This is where I work now." "I can see that," Chitty said quietly. "Congratulations," Ada said, looking at Ngozi's pregnant belly. You're going to be parents." "Thank you," Ngozi said carefully. Ada swallowed hard. "I know you probably hate me. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. Her voice broke. "I was horrible to you, both of you. I mocked your disability. Chitty, I cheated. I planned to steal from you. I was cruel to Ngozi. I destroyed my own marriage because I was too blind and vain to see what I had. Why are you telling us this?" Chitty asked, "Because I need to say it. I need you to know that I know what I did. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm trying to be honest." Finally, Chitty studied her for a long moment. Then, "I forgive you, Ada." She looked up, shocked. "What?" "I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger hurts me more than you. I spent too long in pain, physical and emotional. I'm not spending the rest of my life in the prison of bitterness. But I destroyed you. You tried to, he corrected, but you didn't succeed. You revealed who you were. You lost everything. And I gained everything that matters. He squeezed Ngozie's hand. You taught me what love isn't. And that helped me recognize what love is. So in a strange way, thank you. Ada started crying, real tears, not the manipulative kind she used to fake. Ngozi stepped forward. I hope you find peace, Ada. Real peace. Not in money or status, but in becoming a better person. They walked away, leaving Ada standing at her cash register, tears streaming down her face. Outside the mall, Ngozi looked up at her husband. That was kind of you. It was necessary, Chitty said. For me, not for her. I needed to let go. 6 months later, their baby was born, a healthy boy. They named him Chabiz, God is King, a reminder that through everything, there had been a higher purpose. Chitty's architectural firm continued growing. His disability advocacy work touched thousands of lives. He proved every day that disability didn't define him. Ngozi balanced motherhood and nursing, showing the same compassion to her patients that she'd once shown to a man in a wheelchair. They built a life based on genuine love, respect, and equality, the kind of life Chitty never had with Ada. As for Ada, she continued working retail. She lived simply in a small apartment with no designer clothes or status symbols. Some say she volunteered at a local charity on weekends. Some say she was trying to rebuild herself from the inside out. Whether she truly changed, only time would tell. But she learned the hard lesson that cruelty has consequences, that mocking someone's weakness doesn't make you strong. It makes you cruel. That love based on status is hollow, while love based on character is eternal. 5 years after the estate meeting revelation, Chitty did a TED Talk that went viral. He stood on stage, no wheelchair, no cane, just a man standing on his own 2 feet, and told his story. People ask me, how did you survive? They think I'm talking about the paralysis, but I'm not. I survived emotional abuse. I survived being told every day that I was worthless because I couldn't walk. I survived by remembering that my worth wasn't in my legs. It was in my character. And I had someone who saw that when I couldn't see it myself. He gestured to the audience, where Ngozi sat with their young son. That's real love. Not loving someone when they're perfect, but loving them when they're broken and believing in them until they can believe in themselves again. The audience gave him a standing ovation. Millions watched online. Comments poured in. This is the most inspiring thing I've ever heard. Disability isn't the end of your story. His wife was cruel, but the maid saw his worth. That's everything. True love wins. And somewhere in Lagos, Ada watched the TED Talk on her phone during her lunch break. She watched Chitty stand confidently on stage. She saw Ngozi in the audience, their son beside her, a family built on genuine love. And for the first time since the divorce, Ada smiled, not with bitterness, but with genuine acceptance. She'd lost everything. But in losing everything, maybe she'd finally learned what actually mattered. The video ended with Chitty's final words. To everyone watching who feels trapped by circumstances, disability, or abuse, remember this. Your current situation is not your final destination. Healing is possible. Walking again, literally or figuratively, is possible. And finding real love, real respect, real dignity, that's always possible. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. The screen faded to black. And somewhere in Lagos, a man who'd once been mocked in a wheelchair was now walking tall, living proof that character, not circumstances, defines who we are. The end. From wheelchair to wedding to fatherhood, from maid to wife to mother, from humiliation to TED Talk speaker, Chitty forgave Ada and moved on with his true love. They have a beautiful son. He's doing disability advocacy, helping thousands. Ada is working retail, finally learning humility. This is the ultimate story about disability not defining your worth. True love conquering cruelty, and character triumphing over circumstances. If this story moved you, inspired you, or changed how you see disability, smash that like button Subscribe to African Tales by Zion for more stories where good wins, cruelty loses, and real love conquers all. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Comment your favorite moment. And remember, your worth is not in what your body can or can't do. It's in who you are. Disability doesn't define you. Character defines you. Thank you for watching African Tales by Zion. Until next time, treat people with kindness regardless of their circumstances. Love based on character, not status. And never ever judge someone by their limitations. God bless.